very rightly pointed out, translation plays a role in extending the scope of language and reframing the boundaries of the sable. New terms and coinages necessitated by translation create new vocabulary and contribute to greater expressibility. One thus learns not to understand foreign literature and philosophy through the mother tongue, but also speak about modern knowledge from quantum physics to nanotechnology and computer science to molecular biology in the regional language. It strengthens democracy by establishing equality among different languages and questioning the hegemony of some of the others, as it proves that the ideas and experiences can be expressed in all languages and they are exchangeable in spite of their uniqueness. Our guest of honor, Professor Parmendra Dashora sir, has joined, and I can see him. He is ex-Vice Chancellor, University of Kota, a man with distinct vision, an idol of knowledge and experience and inspiration for all of us. He was member RPSC from 2008 to 15 and served as the advisory board of PhD and MSc students in agricultural statistics. A long biodata with several books and research papers, a well-known name in academic circle. Now, I request Professor P.K. Dashora sir to express his views on the topic. Professor P.K. Dashora sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
नमस्कार आप सभी को.
Sir, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. It's really a great pleasure to be a part of international webinar being organized by Department of English and Foreign Languages, Central University of Haryana, Mahendragarh, coupled with Maharaja Ganga Singh University of Bikaner. In the webinar inaugural session, present Professor V.K. Singh, Professor S.K. Agrawal, Professor Neerja Gupta, Professor Rajneesh Shukla, Professor Kapil Kapoor, and more than the participants, friends. At the outset, I would say that it is a very pertinent topic, and the topic has been restricted to remembering the role of translation in the Indian freedom struggle. I have two comments at the outset. One is Indian freedom struggle is a result of n number of factors. Translation is one of them. Moreover, translation is not only contributed to Indian freedom struggle, but translation has been contributing in everyone's life, everywhere in this world. So I think that restricting ourselves, translation and Indian freedom struggle as if translation only is responsible for success or attempts of Indian freedom struggle, I would differ here. However, I remember one saying from Rigved. Everyone knows that it is Ano Badra Katavo Yantu Vishwata. हमारे सभी के लिए सभी दिशाओं से कल्याणकारी विचार आए. Let noble thoughts come from all directions to us. Friends, how can noble thoughts come to us from all directions when in India itself we have, you see, 22 languages, about 2,000 dialects. How can novel thoughts come from all directions? It is just understanding, making efforts to understand the views of others, the saying of others, the writings of others, whatever has been written in scriptures, in books, whatever has been narrated in anecdotes, in different languages, in different dialects. And for this, in order to, I think that know, understand, and benefit from varied ideas of learned people, of experienced people, and gain from their experiences, from their learnings, we need to interact, we need to read, we need to understand, we need to question. Scholars from different parts of world, not only India. As I just mentioned that we have 22 languages, about 2000 dialects, and freedom struggle was participated by pan-India. Everyone, not only present India, but from Pakistan and Bangladesh also. Freedom struggle was fought by people from foreign countries also, for their own freedom of their own countries. And they contributed for the freedom of our nation also. It just cannot be just a result of effort of a singular language, idea of a singular person, or contribution by a small group of people. Friends, language is a means of communication, and perhaps we all know that even before the language was evolved, communication was there. So perhaps for communication, language is a help. It is not a must. And when it is not a must, then how and why we restrict ourselves to one language, or we study the translation of particular language in particular language. Friends, translation is a very generalized term. Very generalized term. In different languages, it has different connotations, perhaps. As Professor Agrawal has rightly pointed out right here, that Anuvaad and translation can be viewed in two different ways, distinctly two different ways. And the translation can be a verbatim translation, a translation of ideas, translation of feelings. In Hindi, we say Shabdanuvaad, Bhavanuvaad, Sankhyanuvaad, and there are many categories of this translation and Anuvaad itself. But translation, perhaps we may not restrict ourselves to the translation work being done by some scholars and published. Rather, the facial movements studied and message gained, is it not a translation? Rather, just intonation of or the accent of a person for conveying something and understanding it differently is not a translation. In Hindi, we say that Abhida, Vyanjana, Lakshana. And when a person speaks in Lakshana, the listener or reader takes some different meaning of it. but verbatim we transfer it, it has a different meaning. When somebody speaks in Lakshana, it has a different meaning, but still verbatim translation will go in different way. And translation itself perhaps cannot create history, but in the creation of history or in the history, translation work has got a very important role. As again, Professor Agrawal has mentioned that translation helped in creating history. He has just quoted the example of Anandamath. Certainly, Anandamath, the conversation between two characters, as he mentioned, played a vital role in conveying the message to the masses. But that vital role may not be, and we say just we go by verbatim translation of the expressions, and if we do not understand it in different languages and different connotations. Very important thing I would like to make it that translation is one activity, inter alia many activities for transforming the society. Translation helps. But the alone translation can transform the society, I disagree here. For the transformation of society, there are very different activities, or even a set of some activities operating in a particular person or a particular mass may not be feasible for another group or another mass or another person. So individually or in some individual groups, factors affecting may be different. But still, translation is one of them which is essentially present in all sets. Maybe translation is in some A form or B form or C form, but translation is inevitable. We know that India is, when we are talking of the freedom struggle of India, India is a multilingual country. Every language of India has got something or other to be conveyed to the society, to the human being, not only to a limited group. But that expressed in a particular language, how does it reaches to the another corner of our nation where some other language is being spoken, whether some other language is being understood, whether words have different meanings, then certainly the Bhavanuvaad, what message we want to convey, what ideas you want to convey, that is more important. Our published documents and scriptures, they are, we can say that geoculturally they can be different. But still, as regards basic human values are concerned, they coincide at the same point. And that human values include the independence of a person, independence of a group of person, and independent of a group of persons similarly living in a geocultural society. India is a geocultural unit. And that geocultural unit has a different notion of life, a different purpose of life, being expressed in different languages. Friends, India, right since the ancient history, we can point out has been educating, pleading, advocating, and living independent life. It's a matter of history that we can discuss it separately someday else. But I feel that all Rajas and kings, they have a limited role to play in everyone's day-to-day life, because independence was imbibed in everyone's life. Friends, this independence movement, when we look at from different points of view, where from we should start it? 1857 or still before? 1857 की जो क्रांति थी, उस क्रांति के बीज तो बहुत पहले पड़ गए थे। और भारत में जब चाहे शक हो, हूण हो, मे बी मुगल्स, मे बी तुर्क्स, whoever came here, the Indian people, the Indian masses always fought for the independence. Maybe they are living miles apart. When Babur came, Maharaja Sangha fought against Babur. He helped Ibrahim Lodi. Because Babur came as an invader. Ibrahim Lodi was Indian at that time, though his ancestors were also invaders. So it is a very complex phenomenon, in my opinion. Independence movement is a very complex phenomenon. Where from we started? 1857 की क्रांति के बारे में जब हम बात करते हैं, we refer to Mangal Pandey, who he was, whom for he was striving for independence. He was just not fighting, or he had no fire in his heart only for a limited group of people, but against all English people. Maybe they are at Kashmir, or maybe they are at the Kanyakumari. And his fire awakened all people in India. Savarkar, he wrote his famous book, Indian War of Independence, on War of Independence in 1857. He wrote it in Marathi. Marathi में लिखी हुई पुस्तक, the book written in Marathi was translated in many other languages. First edition was in Marathi, second edition was published by Lala Hardayal in America by Gadar Party. Third edition was published by Bhagat Singh. Fourth edition was published by Subhash Chandra Bose in different languages. And when we just make an effort to go through these different editions in different languages, perhaps they are not verbatim translations. Though right from our early school age, we have been trained and asked that translation should be exactly verbatim. But as we advance, we understand the meaning of translation, and we know the limitations of translation. Sometimes, friends, translation itself is, translated work is itself is more powerful than the original one, because of the beauty of the language, because of the beauty of the translation work, because of the experiences which has been covered by translator in the selection of words and translation work becomes more important than the original work. I quote you one example. One person from Mewar, Kesar Singh Baharat. Lord Curzon in 1903 invited all princely states for a meeting for a particular purpose. Maharaja of Mewar, Fateh Singh Ji, was also invited. In a meeting, in a conference being organized by English people, and Maharaja of Mewar visiting and attending it was not cherished by Kesari Singh Bharat. Maharaja of Mewar left by train from Udaipur for Delhi, and while he was just boarding the train, Kesari Singh Bharat handed over him 3 sortas, that is, 13 sortas, that is 13 couplets written in Mewari. They are still relevant and they are known to people. They are known as Chetamni Ka Chuntia. It is in Mewari. But I don't think that I can translate it in even Hindi or in English. I don't have an equivalent word for Chuntia, which is only in Mewari. And on reading his 30 couplets, Maharaja Fateh Singh returned in between. The saloon kept empty, saloon of a train. Train reached Delhi and the chair for Maharaja kept empty. Before photographs are available, and one chair is empty there in the photograph, and the chair was fixed for the Maharaja Fateh Singh. It is language, it is translation. And as on today, when we translate it, we know the beauty of it. A person, a king, a Maharaja, he changed his decision of attending the meeting called by English government. Tatya Tope, he was Marathi. Why he was influenced by Maharana Pratap? Tatya Tope was influenced by Shivaji. I can understand. Shivaji was Maharashtrian. But Pratap was his hero. Pratap was a Mewari Raja. And Pratap was the hero of Indian freedom struggle all over the nation. Even in Bengal. Whatever Krantikaris did, they were inspired by Pratap. The translation work of, I give you the translation. What is translation? I give you another example because it just come to me. Rabindranath Tagore has written Gitanjali in Bangla. He himself transcreated it in Hindi. In English. The people or the scholars didn't appreciate it. There are many examples. In Sharad, Tagore, Arvindev, they wrote in different languages. Their work was translated in different language and it was disseminated throughout the nation, which ignited the fire of independence in the hearts of millions and millions of people. This translation work. Bhagat Singh started, we say that Bhagat Singh studied Lenin and he fought for the Indian independence. It was not written, Lenin was not available in Punjabi, but he translated. He understood it for India. The French Revolution, the Indian freedom struggle has an impact of French Revolution. That French Revolution, it was not available in Hindi or in English or in Indian language. But the masses of French Revolution was received by Indian people, Indian masses, Indian Krantikaris. It was a translation only. So translation in itself, we cannot say that it has nothing less important. It has played a vital role. The French Revolution was influenced by Rousseau. The Chinese Revolution was influenced by Marx. And even Indian freedom struggle was influenced by Vivekananda. Vivekananda's famous speech of Chicago, still it is being remembered. It is being quoted. So can we say that translation, it is only an activity? Translation, it has just verbatim translation is there. As I mentioned, that translation, it can have many other dimensions also. Even without using language, the translation we get translation of expressions. We understand it. We get the translation of body language. We understand it. We cannot ignore it. It is really important to understand the translation and define it in different ways. As in today, largely people just understand that translation only a verbatim translation or translation of the meaning we want to say, expressions we want to convey. But translation has to be addressed in translation in different ways. And I would again reiterate and quote Professor Agrawal that Anuvaad is different than translation. Translation has a pivotal role in creating and making history. And Indian freedom struggle is a history. The Indian freedom struggle is not only history, it is our present also. Our present is the result of Indian freedom struggle. And our future of India, future of Indian citizens will be governed by, will be inspired by, will be taking energy from the Indian freedom struggle. So whatever work, whatever ideas, whatever feelings, maybe from one state, maybe from one language, maybe from one nation, which came to the hearts of people, minds of people, is a form of translation. Inter alia, there are many other components. There are many other factors. But certainly, translation itself is one important factor which we cannot ignore. And we have to give due importance, due credit to it also. I express my heartiest thanks to the organizers, and I understand that all the organizers will be happy to see the success of it, and I wish a grand success to the webinar. I also wish a fruitful outcome of it. I have seen the list of speakers in plenary session and in inaugural session also. I'm confident that Ano Badra Kratavo Yantu Vishwata, the novel thoughts will be coming from different speakers in different way. And the net result of that will strengthen our independence, will give जिसे कहें कि खुराक, जिसे कहें कि nutrition to our thought process. It will enhance our knowledge. It will help us to be a better citizen of India. I, at the last, thank all my friends, colleagues, participants, especially Professor Suresh Agrawal, who has just given me an opportunity to express my views to you all, friends. I would leave. The reason being, I am in a interview board for the promotion of university teachers. I just took permission from the Honorable Vice Chancellor to attend this webinar and express my views. So I
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. My gratitude to you. You spare time. I can understand your very busy schedule, but despite that, you made it to be here. My gratitude and a big thank you to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.